What's up, my archfiends of chaos? This is none other than King of the Night Vlogs, and I want to talk to you about high school. Here's the question I've learned. Did I actually learn anything in high school? Yes and no. No, because all the stuff they taught was basics. The things that high schools never teach, and I don't know if they do it now, but they never taught you apartment living, being on your own, the real world stuff. The only thing you really got to learn was all the basic stuff like math, science, cooking class, wood shop. They even took out the driving classes in high school, which granted was hype for me going to high school because I would have learned how to drove if I would have taken that. So some high schools still had, but some other high schools took out driving classes. So it was hard to get a license unless you went through like Catholic churches that do the driving school or those rich type of Blue Valley like schools. But other than that, or JCC pretty much. But other than that, I think they really just, like with the driving classes, they took those out. So pretty much you didn't really get to learn very much besides the basic stuff. The things I've learned in high school that I've gathered besides the basic math, science, and literature and social studies was also they taught you how to fit in. You couldn't be completely smart. What I'm trying to say is you couldn't have your own thoughts on stuff. They canceled out pretty much any critical thinking. You had to think like everybody else. If you didn't, you were the weird kid and you got bullied in school. That's just how it is. And the teachers, they say they give a fuck about you, but they're in it for the thing about it is they're in it for the jocks. A jock could get a bad grade in school and still be able to be pushed through as long as he wins the games and stuff like that. So if you weren't a jock or anyone in high social class, if you weren't anyone in high social class at all, then it would be pretty much, it'd be pretty much, if you got bullied in school and you're not one of the social high classes, if you're nobody, nobody really gives a shit about you. The one thing I've learned truly from high school is that, and one thing I've learned that, they pretty much metaphorically taught me in school was that you're kind of on your own. If you're pretty much were a nobody and you didn't do anything for, you didn't do anything for other people, if you weren't anybody, you were on your own. So it did teach me some skills because, I realized that, unless you're some popular star, nobody's really going to give a shit about you, so you got to give a shit about yourself. Now, the difference between college and high school is the teachers did care about your grades, so they will make you, they would make you stay in seminar or stay in their classes after to get homework or school assignments completed. So you had to get school assignments completed. And they made you do that, which in colleges they don't. But this is where high school is actually where it starts to become nobody's gonna give a fuck about you. You gotta give a fuck about yourself, because if you don't give a fuck about yourself, then you're gonna end up being in trouble. That's just how it is. It was kind of a dog-eat-dog's world. And if you were slightly different, or if you thought different, then you'd be bullied in high school. Not to mention, high school really didn't teach you how to think for your own self. It actually taught you to think like everybody else does. And here's the thing, it didn't prepare you for the jobs. Unless you were lucky to have a job skills class in your high schools or anything like that, they didn't teach you how to be on your own. They taught you just how to fit in with society and how to be normal. How to think like everybody else does. Not to have any critical thinking skills of critical thinking skills for yourself. And I've learned. And you know what? I've learned these things. I've learned these things that it's about being socially acceptable than it is to learn stuff. But you do learn that you're on your own if you're a nobody. And there are some things you do learn. And don't get me wrong, math and science and all that stuff is good for your career in the future. And they do at least one thing that's really good in high schools is they actually, you talk to a counselor and they'll tell you what colleges to go to and why you should go to the colleges. But your classes do kind of prepare you for college. That I will give them that. It does give you the certified to go to the next level, which is college. And that's if you didn't drop out of high school and you had to be forced to do a GED. But to be honest, you really didn't learn very much in high school unless it was about socializing with others and becoming just like everybody else instead of an individual. They really didn't. High school is frowned upon you being an individual and thinking for yourself. If you start thinking like everybody else, then you were part of the pack. Even teachers didn't want you to think like everybody. They didn't want you to think like yourself. They didn't want you to have critical thinking skills at all. They really didn't want you to have that. They wanted you to think like everybody else. And with the rise of political correctness, of course, like that's going to be really harmful for anyone who currently goes to high school. Which people who are in high school now, they're my followers. If they're high school students or teenagers, boy, do I feel sorry for you, because you had to be indoctrinated to what's going on with the new world, what's going on with the new stuff. You can't actually have an opinion unless it's fitting from the school. So I feel sorry for the younger generation, no doubt about it. Luckily we didn't have anything like that when I was in high school. We just, but for me, what I did to get myself out of high school was I treated high school the way I treated jail. In jail, you get out if you have good behavior, if your crimes aren't really severe. Well, in high school, what I did was got through my work. I just pretty much got good grades to get out. I thought, it's only 4 years. 4 years of this torture. All I gotta do is do my work. And time goes by so fast. One day, one day in high school will go so fast. It'd be the one day of your senior year. If you do your schoolwork, it goes by so fast. If you do your schoolwork, you'll be one day a freshman. Tomorrow you wake up, you're a senior. It goes so fast if you focus on your schoolwork, and I figured that out. I figured out, if I just do my work, do my best, get good grades, it'd be fast, and it was. It was faster than I expected. I thought it was gonna be a little bit longer, but I guess when you're a kid, you got time to have fun and be a kid and do what you gotta do as a kid. So time slows down. But the more you grow up and the more you age, time goes by so fast. One day you'll be waking up, you'll be out of high school. The next day you'll be into college. And then the third day you'll be in your career. This time is so instant. You don't even feel it. I mean, I know it sounds crazy at the time. You do feel like it's long, but it really went by so fast. So what I ended up doing was actually just finishing my high school work, and that was pretty much it. That was pretty much just it, finishing my high school. I didn't fit in, I'll be honest. I was a nerd. There was one time I was with the popular kids, and there was one time I went to a popular kids party, which I'm not going to get into that, because when I was in the popular kids party, yeah, I did get to see a whole lot. I'm not going to talk about what I saw because, well, it goes to show how high school kids are really messed, and teenagers can be really messed up human beings. Because I'll just say one thing: when I was like in a popular kids party, I think it was junior year. I'm not gonna put no names in there because I'm not a snitch. I don't do that shit. But there was like 5 guys going in one room with a girl. I'm not gonna get into what happened. You could already imagine what happened. Of course, me being a pussy and being scared and holy shit, like, oh my god, I don't want to get myself in trouble. I kind of just pretty much ducked my head below and just enjoyed the party. But that was my last popular kids parties after that, because I was like, oh, this shit is not for me. This is not for me. I mean, I could see drinking a little bit and have a little bit of fun. I mean, especially when you're a teenager because, you know, things, you get angstier, you go through puberty, you go through a bunch of stuff. But it became, you know, there's actually a dark side of high school. There's actually a darker side of high school. You know, there's actually an underworld in high school. And some of the teachers actually are part of that underworld. Even some of the, what's it called? Not corrections officer, what's it called? I forgot what they call the officers that were stationed in high school. I forgot what they're called, but even they were part of it. You know, which come to find out, one of the SRO, one of our SRO officer, you know, ended up being pedo, which again I'm not gonna put no names, but pretty much there is a dark underworld of high school. And one thing that you learn from high school that's not from teachers is that you start to see the world a more realistic take and not this fantasy where everything's gonna go good, everything's gonna be what it is. And it's a good experience. High school is a good experience for anybody. Nerds, jocks, anybody. Because then you start to see at least some archetypes of the real world. So you don't go in the real world thinking that things are going to be rainbows and unicorns and pink butterflies and political correctness. I'm going to tell you about the world, and it's not going to be anything like that. And I've appreciated learning. I have appreciated learning that from the get-go. Because, you know, the problem is now everybody thinks that life's about unicorns, political correctness, and you know, stuffed teddy bears and shit. It's not. It's not. The world is a lot darker than you think. It is dark. You know, I can see why some religions believe that Satan rules the whole entire world, because it's a fucked up world. It is. And high school has taught me a little bit of that, because I went to a popular kids party. And, you know, when I was part of the popular kids, and that was like junior year, I think, you know, I got to see a little bit of that underworld. I got to taste a little bit of underworld. See, I think destiny, God, or whatever you want to believe in, will show you all sides of life, all sides of a lifestyle. You know, whether you believe in a deity or you believe in destiny, either it or he's gonna show you what all sides are like. And when you see both sides, you start to make a comparison. You start to think critically. Then you know what? That's where you get your critical thinking skills, because the teachers don't tell you to be critical thinkers. You know what it. You know. They don't. Instead, you become a critical thinker when you start to hang out with the kids. You learn more from other students than you do of teenagers. Because when you do become a popular kid, or when you are on the opposite of the popularity spectrum or anything like that, you start to see a real different world than what you're taught. Now, luckily, this high school I went to pretty much the most progressive high school. The jocks talked to the nerds, everybody sat at all the tables. There was barely any cliques. There was cliques, but it was like very small. Everybody talked to each other. Everybody knew each other. Because I was in a progressive high school. Like, I was in a pretty progressive high school. But, you know, you did see some of the underworld. You did see some of the things that were wrong. And it taught you, don't just look at the world in the more unicorn things. Have critical thinking skills. Be your own person. And worry about your work, your schoolwork. And don't be distracted about what's going on outside the world. So may the crystal be with you. Tell me what you think about what your high school experience like, or if you're currently in high school.